I'm David James, and this is 2 Main Street on the road. We're here at Wesselman Woods Nature Preserve, celebrating 50 years as a nonprofit organization in the Evansville area. And we have a new director of Wesselman Woods, Zach Garcia. He's my guest. This place is incredible. It's a national natural landmark and Indiana State Nature Preserve and the largest urban old-growth forest in the U.S. So what does that mean? Well, it means Wesselman Woods is 200 plus acres of an ancient forest, never been cut, the trees providing lungs for this community, clearing the air, improving our quality of life. Wesselman Woods is described as a living artifact. I believe that. Here to help us explore all these wonders and this treasure right here in our backyard is the newly named Executive Director of Wesselman Woods, Zach Garcia. Zach, thanks for having us here at your place. This is it's a gorgeous environment, and you are not a stranger to Wesselman Woods, are you?
No, I am not. I am not a stranger at all. This is like home, actually. Well, first off, because I work here and I'm always here, so that's one reason why it feels like home. But you know, I've been at Wesselman Woods since 2019. I started as the Director of Education. From there, I was the Director of Education, Natural Resources, and Research. From there, I was the Associate Executive Director, and now I'm the Executive Director. So I've kind of had a hand in, gosh, everything that is Wesselman Woods the past 3 years.
Well, I can sense your passion for this place, definitely. Now, it's important for our listeners and our viewers to understand the importance of this place, an ancient forest and a living artifact. Explain that.
Yes. So Wesselman Woods, like you said, is largest urban old-growth forest in the United States. And we have this in our backyards here in Evansville. I mean, this is a national treasure right here in the city. And when I say a living artifact, is that when you go to the Louvre in Paris and you see the Mona Lisa, you see the Mona Lisa with rails around it, there's glass. And at Wesselman Woods, it's the same thing. We have Mona Lisa like a forest, or the forest as a Mona Lisa here, and it's a living piece of art. It's a living piece of an artifact.
And this is a snapshot of millennia, really.
Exactly. Yeah, if you were to go back into the 1700s before, colonists were here in Indiana and when indigenous people were living here, I mean, this is the type of forest you would see. So it makes sense when you walk through Wesselman Woods and you see these humongous straight trees. I mean, the want and the necessity to say, hey, I want to build a homestead here because I can build 2 houses with, one of these trees.
Now, before we explore the wonders of Wesselman Woods, a quick history lesson. We talked about Albert Wesselman. He's the state senator, the namesake of Wesselman, and the Junior League, very responsible for this facility.
Yes, so Wesselman Woods has a precarious history in the 1800s. A number of the families that inherited this land or bought it, they just never really developed the land. Other things were going on in their lives and it just wasn't developed. It was only until the early 1900s when the state of Indiana took control of this whole area, and then it was only until about the 1950s, 60s that the Junior League of Evansville brought down a biologist, and he went through Wesselman Woods and was like, oh my gosh, this is such an important and significant ecological and environmental location. And from there, the Junior League in the 1960s did, they did petitions, they fundraised. I mean, we have everything to thank to the Junior League of Evansville for protecting this incredible forest.
Now, the Wesselman Woods and the Nature Preserve separate from Wesselman Park.
Yes, very correct. So Wesselman Park is outside of our gates. Everything from the front gates on back, that is Wesselman Woods Nature Preserve. And that is the State Nature Preserve, and that is the National Natural Landmark.
And the park is the city.
Yes, the park is the city.
Now, let's learn more about Zach Garcia, the new executive director of Wesselman Woods. So where did you grow up, Zach?
Yeah, so I grew up in Northwest Indiana.
So you're a Hoosier.
Yeah, I am a Hoosier, born and raised Hoosier. Grew up in Highland, Indiana. And yeah, gosh, I remember being outside most of my childhood. We lived in the suburbs, so we're only about 30 minutes south of downtown Chicago. So my Indiana is very different from the rest of Indiana.
Sure.
But yeah, grew up outside, riding my bikes to the parks, playing around the ditches, trying to collect frogs, bees. I mean, you name it. I had it in a tank. I was always observing it, trying to plant stuff. I mean, didn't really work out when I was a little kid, but as an adult, I'm still doing that, and it does work out when I plant trees.
Now, did your
terrariums.
family foster this passion?
They did, yes.
Good.
So both of my parents love being outdoors, and my grandparents as well. I mean, I had grandparents that were farmers from Mexico. And so, I mean, there's that necessity of land and agriculture with avocado and orange farms.
Really?
And then my grandparents in Northwest Indiana, I mean, they had such an admiration of trees. So I was surrounded by nature-loving people.
And of course, then you went on to college, and
Yes.
you're involved at several universities here. Sophia University in Tokyo?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes. So when I was an undergrad at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, I studied abroad at Jochi Daigaku, so Sophia University.
Is that in the heart of Tokyo?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, it's right in the heart of Tokyo. And I loved it. And
Not a forest there, though.
you know, not forest, but cherry blossoms. That's what really got my interest in this socio-cultural, ecological realm of trying to understand our perceptions and our admiration for certain species. So when I was in Tokyo, I was doing some research on cherry blossom viewing and impermanence and permanent features when it comes to culture. Yeah.
And you also went to Nepal?
Yes, so I was a Peace Corps volunteer. So after undergrad, I worked at a children's museum, Madison Children's Museum. It's amazing. And from there, I joined the Peace Corps, and I was in Nepal for 3 years doing environmental and agricultural work. So absolutely love Nepal. And again, that was fostering that same connections of the human dimension and the environment and how those connect.
Were you in Kathmandu?
No, I was actually 2 days journey from
Really?
Kathmandu. I was in a small village in Palpa. Yeah, so it was one of the hardest things I've done in my life, but it was so rewarding as well. And Nepal is like a second home to me. I love all my friends and family there.
What was the hard part of it?
Oh, very good question. So I think so in Peace Corps, you intuitively think culture would be something difficult to, acclimate with.
Language, of course.
Exactly. For me, that wasn't the issue. For me, it was health issues. So I was drinking water that I should have been sterilized.
Okay.
So my issue was getting sick the entire time. But other than that, I had a wonderful time, and I say it was so hard, but I loved every minute of it, even the hardships.
U.S. Forest Service. You're working in the greater New York City area.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And this connects actually back to Nepal and the human dimension and the environment. So I had the opportunity while I was at the Yale School of the Environment to work with the United States Forest Service. And what we were doing is that in New York City, there's a huge population of Indo-Caribbean communities. And there I was working with Hindu priests and Hindu community members because there's a nature preserve in New York City as well, Jamaica Bay. And Indo-Caribbean Hindu folks, they worship on these, in this nature preserve. So I was working with them, again, looking at the human dimensions and their relationship to the environment.
Oh, that's fascinating. It
Yeah.
really is.
It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Of course, now we've talked about Wesselman Woods is home to an ancient forest,
Yes.
meaning it's never been cut, and a variety of trees. I'm sure you have dozens,
Oh,
maybe
yes.
hundreds, I don't know.
Yeah, so again, being an ancient forest, the biodiversity here is just magnificent, truly. If you go to another, a new growth forest, you're gonna see maybe 10, 12 tree species. At Wesselman Woods, we have upwards of 40 tree species in a deciduous forest in the Midwest. That's a huge number for like an ecologist or forester to think, oh my gosh, like 40 to 50 tree species, it's incredible.
What's the dominant tree species?
Yeah, dominant tree species, I would say oak, ash, and maples.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
And you do have a pawpaw. The
Oh,
pawpaw.
yes, we have the Indiana banana here.
That's right.
Yes. So we have a number of pawpaw trees here. Now, in the preserve, we can't harvest any of that because it's off limits, but there are a few places outside the preserve where pawpaws have fallen and we've tried them, and I think they taste great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the wildlife, of course, bird count, migratory birds.
Yes, yeah, we have a number of bird species coming through Wesselman Woods all the time. Now, migratory bird species, oh my gosh, we have birders from all over the area coming to see any birds migrating through here, which is, it's wonderful when, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but when there's a bird species that comes through here and someone on Facebook might say, hey, it's here, and then folks just kind of...
Do the hummingbirds come in here?
Oh, absolutely. So the ruby-throated hummingbird.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, we have a number of hummingbirds through here. Actually, around our office area, the jewelweed plants that we have there, the hummingbirds love that. And the spring and the summer, I mean, in one day, there has to be at least like 75 plus hummingbirds.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you have the dragonfly pond and red-eared slider turtles, I believe.
Yes, yeah, Odonata Pond. So as you're going to the nature playscape, we have the pond, the Odonata Pond right there, and then we have the hill. And that was constructed in the 1970s. So they took out that to make a pond, and then we have that hill, and that's where all that dirt went to make the hill. And we have red sliders in there, we have snapping turtles, we have a few minnows, and we have some carp in there as well.
So the flora and fauna are rampant here.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yep.
We've been talking about this place being an environmental gym right here in our own backyard. It's a place to be enjoyed by the public, both young and old. The playscape, perfect place for youngsters and oldsters to get out and enjoy nature. And tell us about the playscape, Zach.
Yes, so the nature playscape is 3 acres where it's outside of the nature preserve, so we encourage people to go off trail in the nature playscape, climb a tree, jump over a log, lift the log over, see what arthropods are underneath, collect some wildflowers. So it's a space to use your imagination, exercise, and just commune with nature.
And it's going to be expanded, right?
Yes, so this spring, we're going to be adding 2 acres to our nature playscape. So I think now we can say it is the largest in the United States. So very fortunate to have this addition of 2 acres. And now this 2 acres will be having a meadow that's going to have bird-loving species there. And then we're going to have a few more trails and other play areas for kids.
Now, when you go into the playscape, what are you going to see, Zach?
Yes, so what's really awesome about the nature playscape is that we've used the natural features of the land, so the trees and the grapevines, as play features for kids to explore. We've also brought in some really large boulders for kids to climb and jump off of. One of my favorite things is that in the nature playscape, where we have logs that kids can just roll over and look under. When I was doing programs out there, we would have like an army of 2-year-olds, and I would ask them, all right, everyone, come over here, try to move this log over. And it was the funnest thing to watch like 6 or 7 2-year-olds all push this log. And it was so funny because when they were done pushing it, they all were just like, oh, and they would look at each other, and it was like this sense of like collective excitement and exhaustion that they were able to move this log.
And it's a neat place too because you could have a picnic lunch out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You can. We have 2 lawn areas out at the nature playscape, so you could definitely bring a picnic and just sit out there and just have your kids play around, or if you want to as an adult.
Now you're a terrestrial arthropod specialist.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't say specialist, but when I was at Yale, I was a teaching assistant for a terrestrial arthropods class and an evolutionary biology class.
Well, tell us about these terrestrial arthropods.
Oh, I love arthropods. I think that larger fauna are just like always talked about. The macro fauna.
Arthropods are small.
Yes, yeah, it's the insects, it's the spiders, it's all of those little guys that, basically run the world. I love them. I think that they are so vital and precious, and I also think they're so cute too. I know a lot of people don't think they're cute, but I just think they're the cutest little things.
Well, now dragonfly is
Yes.
an arthropod, right?
Yes, dragonflies are arthropods.
And dragonflies, do they eat mosquitoes?
That's a really good question. I believe dragonflies do eat.
I love them if they do.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, me too.
Now you have, of course, they're at the pond, Dragonfly Pond.
Odonata.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what it's also called the Dragonfly Pond because
Yes.
there are dragonflies there.
Yes.
Definitely. And there's an observation deck right there at the pond too, which I think is really cool.
Yes. Oh, it's so much fun. And I know last year, anytime we would get on that observation deck, there were 2 or 3 snapping turtles. I mean, this size, and they would always come up to the observation deck anytime anyone would go out there. So the summer camp kids would always make an effort to go over to the observation deck as we were heading back to the nature center to say hello to the snapping turtles.
Now let's talk about the significance of being a national natural landmark. What does that mean?
Yes, so from the federal government, there's a number of designations that a place can receive. And we are fortunate enough to be one of the, I think, 70 or 80 in the United States to be a national natural landmark. So again, from the Department of the Interior, they designate this area as an important ecological area that needs to be protected.
And it's also an Indiana State Nature Preserve.
Yes.
What
Now,
does that mean?
Yeah, so the nature preserve status, I would say that is probably our most important and significant designation, because what that does is that protects us at a level that people can't go off trails, no dog walking, no cat walking in the nature preserve, and no harvesting or foraging as well, because like I said, biodiversity is so high here. We have rare and endangered, not just fauna, but flora as well. And, if people were to go off trail or take something, I mean, it could really disrupt the ecological space that we have.
Do you have to deal with invasive species?
Ooh, yes. Invasive species are the bane of my existence.
Really?
They are all over Wesselman Woods. So we eradicate many of the invasive species that we have here.
What's the main problem?
Ooh, so the main problem, let me use Howell Wetlands for example. So Howell Wetlands that we manage as well, there's a number of Bradford pears
Okay.
at Howell Wetlands. So right now, if you were to go over there in the springtime, you're going to see all the Bradford pears. They're beautiful in bloom, but I mean, you can see that they're so aggressive. I mean, they just pop up everywhere. Last year, I know that we removed around 120 Bradford pears, and we still have probably 50 plus to get rid of. So it's always an ongoing effort to get rid of these invasive species. Here at Wesselman Woods, we have multiflora rose. I would say that's probably our most significant. And that one hurts. I don't know if you've ever gotten into a multiflora rose bush, but I mean, when you get in that I mean, I've gotten deep scratches and whatnot from it. But multiflora rose, that's one that we're always up against.
Any critters that are invasive species?
Ooh, invasive critters.
You have any deer that you have to deal with here?
Deers aren't invasive here in the area. They are aggressive, but not invasive. When it comes to invasive species, starlings, and I would say starlings are probably our biggest.
I don't know if the deer ate a lot of the plants or anything causing problems.
Yes. So when I say they're aggressive, the deer population at Wesselman Woods can only be at a certain threshold.
Okay.
And that was DNR and local biologists helping us with that. But the issue with overpopulation of deer in such a small space is that when we have hickories and ashes and oaks and maples that we want to see dominating the mid canopy, we don't see that because the deer are eating all of that. And the things that we don't really want for the future of this old growth forest are really growing.
Now, coming up, we're going to talk about your personal wish list for Wesselman Woods and neighboring Roberts Park as well. And the importance, of course, of volunteers to make it all happen. My guest is Zach Garcia. We're going to meet some more important players here at Wesselman Woods in just a moment. I'm David James, and this is 2 Main Street, presented by Jeffrey Berger, Kim Wren, and the Berger Wealth Team at Baird Private Wealth Management. We continue to meet some staff members here at Wesselman Woods, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary as a nonprofit organization. Of course, a lot of big events go on at Wesselman Woods year-round. It's a great place to enjoy the seasons. Christina Arwood is here. She's Director of Marketing. And there's always something new to see here at the Woods.
Oh my gosh, there really is. It's been such a pleasure to be here and get to work on these events. So part of that marketing position allows me to really spread the word about what we've got going on. And there's always a lot. Even when it seems like it should be slow in the winter, we've got a lot going on.
Right.
One of our big draws, of course, everyone knows about the Maple Sugar Bush Festival and Pancake Breakfast. We were finally able to do that again this year. And it was our biggest turnout yet. And a great fundraiser for us as well, and a great way for volunteers to get involved with us.
What about the volunteers? They're very important, aren't they?
Oh my gosh, if we couldn't do this without the volunteers. So Wesselman Woods, as a nonprofit, we have a pretty small team. And those volunteers really make up the difference when it comes to trail maintenance, keeping the facilities looking beautiful, helping with our animal encounters and education projects, and even just staffing the front desk.
Well, tell me about your background.
Yeah, I'm another Evansville native, born and raised. I graduated from USI in 2013 as an art student, but found my way into the marketing world and was returned to USI to be a marketing coordinator there for the College of Liberal Arts, and then found out about the wonderful opportunity here at Wesselman Woods, and I could not pass it up. I was a former biology student turned art student, so this is
really?
like the perfect blend of my passions.
So what are some of your favorite critters out here?
Oh my gosh. So animal ambassador-wise, I have to say Izzy, the peregrine falcon's probably my favorite. She's the most beautiful.
I think we're going to meet Izzy in a little bit.
I think so, yes. But Pearl, the turkey vulture, she's got a lot of personality.
Pearl?
Pearl, yeah.
Who named Pearl Pearl?
You know, there's histories behind all of their names, named for different biological scientists or what have you. So we'll have Elaine get more into that for you. Yeah.
And now the hiking trails, very, what would we see on a hiking trail?
Oh, here at Wesselman Woods, we have about a little over 4 miles of hiking trails, and you really get lost out there. You forget that you're in the middle of the city because you're just surrounded by sounds of birds, wildlife skittering around. You might see snakes crawling up the trees or turtles crawling around in the ground. So it's always something new out there to enjoy when you're on the trails.
For young and old.
Oh, absolutely. And for both, we have regulars that come out. They might take photos of the different bugs they might see, or birders love it out here. We have a lot of great birds to see as well.
And so what's your pitch for people to come out here?
Oh, my pitch is come enjoy the largest urban old growth forest in the United States. It's a treasure that we are protecting, and we want you to get just as involved as we are and love this place and share it with your friends and family.
Christina Arwood, thank you so much.
No problem, thank you.
And joining me now is Elaine Kung. She's the wildlife curator, and she has a special guest, Izzy. Tell us about Izzy.
So Izzy is our peregrine falcon, and we got her back in 2015. So she's a good age for a peregrine right now.
What are you feeding Izzy?
She's getting a little bit of a snack. So peregrines in the wild eat mostly birds, but Izzy here has grown to enjoy all the varieties of meats.
Oh, what's her favorite, do you think?
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to go with quail.
Quail? Well, fancy taste.
She does has very expensive taste.
Definitely. Now, Izzy she's part of the a permanent resident, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do people come and see Izzy frequently?
She's actually one of people's favorites because she's very sociable sometimes. She does like to look at kids, and kids just love seeing her up close. So most people in the Evansville area haven't seen raptors face to face before, and you don't get a sense of how awesome they are until you can actually see them up close. So when they can look at her details, they're like, oh my gosh, wow, she's amazing, she's beautiful. I'm like, I know, that's why we're here. That's why she's here, because she can teach everyone better than I can with just pictures.
Now, this is a fascinating species, too. I mean, fast bird, of course, predator in the wild, just a beautiful, and the talons are incredible. Definitely, you can tell
They're
that once they
intimidating.
grasp something, it's not getting away. So what other critters do you have here?
So in addition to Izzy, some of her, let's say housemates. So some of her housemates include a bald eagle, a turkey vulture, who's also a huge hit with the kids.
Now, that's Pearl?
That is Pearl.
Okay.
That is Pearl.
Okay.
She, actually, Pearl was out on a walk on the trails yesterday, and she went hiking. She wanted to follow a group of Girl Scouts, and I think they thought it was amusing. So there's Pearl. There's also a Harris hawk, and we also recently acquired a new screech owl, and he's yet to make his debut, but that's coming.
Now, do you have turtles?
We have a lot of turtles. So we have a lot of eastern box turtles, which are actually state protected. We also have a common snapper, and we also have an alligator snapper, and those are extremely hard to find in Indiana.
Really?
They are considered state endangered. When we get visitors from DNR, they are always happy to see her because she is such a rarity in this area.
So as wildlife curator, what is your daily life like? What do you do first thing when you come to work?
Well, as with any animal-related job, there's always a lot of cleaning. There's a lot of food preparation, and the more, I guess, glamorous part of it is training them, taking care of them, their enrichment part, and getting them comfortable being in educational programs.
What's the lifespan of a falcon?
So it's really going to depend. So with a lot of wild birds, their first year is usually their most dangerous and their most fatal. So most baby birds don't make it past their first year. But after that, we'll have continued improvement as each year passes by. So with Izzy, she's only, well, she was about 1 when we got her, so she's only about 8, 7, getting close to 8.
Now, do you have a relationship with Talon Trust?
Talon Trust is a great rehabber, and they're the only raptor rehabber in this area. So they will take care of the injured birds and make sure they are able to get back into the wild. With us, we are going to take care of the birds that can't be rehabbed. So we will get them out of rehab.
So Izzy won't be going back into the wild?
No, she has some permanent wing damage. The injury has healed, but that damage is everlasting. So you can probably tell her right wing is a little bit droopy, and since raptors rely so much on their ability to fly and maneuver in the air, that wing injury really would put a huge dent on her lifespan in the wild.
Of course, this is Izzy, and we talked about Pearl. How do you come up with these names?
It's a really great question and also really random. So with Izzy, she is actually named after the sister of one of our former staff members, and her sister suffered for a long time with the disease, and she finally passed, so we named Izzy after her. And we have other animals named, say, like Larry, and Larry's named after a longtime work crew member. With Sybil the bald eagle, Sybil is named after this teenage girl named Sybil Luddington, who lived around the time of the American Revolution. And during that time, you would not get a lot of respect or honor as a teenage girl. But this girl, we've all heard of Paul Revere, right? Paul Revere rode around and warned the colonists of the oncoming British invasion. Sybil Luddington did that too. She rode around, but she did not get the same kind of honor and glory as Paul did.
I think she went to more villages than Paul Revere did. I think twice or 3 times as many.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
And
I just read about her
Yeah.
too. That's great.
That's awesome. What great timing. But we try to have some relevance to our animal names, but some of our box turtles are named after the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, of course.
You have to. You just can't not do that.
Do you have a favorite among the critters? Or can you say that?
It depends. It goes on a daily basis. It's different.
Okay. You don't want to commit yourself then.
No.
Okay.
She'll
All right.
get jealous.
Okay. Elaine Kung, a wildlife curator, thanks for introducing us to Izzy. We've really enjoyed it.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Izzy.
so much, David.
Welcome back to 2 Main Street. I'm David James, and we are here at Wesselman Woods, celebrating 50 years as a nonprofit organization in the community. I've been talking to Zach Garcia. He's the new executive director, and we have another new staff members here on board. Deontay Merriweather joins me now. He's the director of operations, and as director of operations, what are you doing?
So primarily, I partner with different directors across the organization, and we're identifying areas, operational areas where we can improve our processes. In the spirit of the 50th anniversary, and we look back on our rich history at Wesselman Woods, we're also focused on improving our present state operationally and looking to be a trailblazer in the way that we lead in sustainability, our business sustainability, and also optimizing our fundraising efforts, and just being facilitator of collaboration. That's primarily what I do in this role. I come from an information technology background working with Columbia Sportswear Company, so I've implemented very large-scale projects. So it's really a privilege to be on a smaller team. You get to touch base with and develop relationships a lot closer this way. And that's kind of one of the main things that we've been doing is really just cultivating relationships and being radically open and accessible to the community.
Now, Deontay, you're a native of this area.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Evansville, so I'm no stranger to Wesselman Woods also. This is a place that I've always come to kind of detach from, being in the computer screen or, stuck on social media.
It's a great place to chill, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super chill here, so no pressure at all, and I love it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the challenges of your job?
Yeah, so some of the challenges, like I said, is facilitating collaboration. Every day there's a new struggle or a new challenge that comes up. So just, keeping everybody on the same page and looking for the win for today and setting goals and keeping track of projects. We got so much going on, so many big events. So that's probably the biggest challenge. But
Now,
that's
I know the term integrity is very important
Yeah.
with this facility.
Right. And so that's another reason why improving our processes is how we maintain that integrity. Because we have such a rich history, we want to make sure that going forward in the future, we're working as efficiently as possible to keep the integrity, keep the environmental, we want to be environmental stewards. We want to inspire more environmental stewards in the community because we're really privileged to be in a community with such a great national landmark. So, yeah.
What's the best part of your day here?
To be honest, the best part of my day is when I walk into the office and, in the corporate world, working in corporate, you're walking into, warehouses, because I travel, and coming in here, just walking in and seeing the trees and taking a breath of fresh air in the morning when the dew is wet. That's my favorite part of the day because I'm just like, I'm so lucky I get to walk into here right now.
Everybody is very jealous right now. Well, Deontay, Meriwether, let's get you back to work now.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cindy Cifuentes is the director of what?
Natural resources and
There you
research.
go, got that right. And what does that mean?
So basically, I am in charge of making sure the forest is managed so that it is protected for future generations. So, I mean, you can't just leave a forest and let it do what it wants because you get things like invasive species that come in and you have to manage them. But the other part of my job is also making sure that there are research opportunities. So we have this old growth forest that you can't find anywhere else, right? And we want to learn from it. We want to know what we have out there, what species are out here, why are we such a unique ecosystem, what type of relationships are wildlife and plants having out there. I mean, there's just so much to learn from this forest. So I work with community partners like University of Evansville, University of Southern Indiana, and we get students and professors out here learning and teaching us about
Tell me
this
about some of the
forest.
research going on.
Sure. So we are a bottomland forest, and that is very unique and important because we have these vernal pools that are everywhere, all over the forest and even in the park. And that is a huge biodiversity hotspot, specifically.
What is that? A vernal pool?
Vernal pools.
What is
yeah.
that?
So a vernal pool is basically a body of water that is only seasonal. So it'll dry up during
Okay.
the summer, but in the spring we have this kind of pond,
Okay.
basically. So that's a vernal pool, and they're super important for salamanders and frogs, so amphibians, reptiles, and they use them as breeding pools. So in the summer, when we start getting, or not summer, in the spring, when we start getting those warm rains rolling in, we see salamanders emerge in mass. And they all come up at once at the same time, and you'll see hundreds of them because we have vernal pools here in the woods and then in Wesselman Park, so you'll see them traveling back and forth. And so if you come out here on a rainy, warm night in the spring,
you'll see hundreds of salamanders crossing the roads.
There's even a sign, isn't there? A salamander crossing
so
sign?
that's why we
Okay.
close the gates around the park loop, because if there are cars driving around here at night and we have hundreds of salamanders everywhere, I mean, that's not great.
Now, salamanders, they do have some predators, I don't think. The birds eat them. And
Oh yeah, anything, birds, raccoons, bigger mammals, even other salamanders will eat each other.
Okay.
Yeah, they are cannibals.
Okay. So, as salamanders, have they always been around here, this area?
Yeah, I mean, they are some of the oldest species that we know of, and we have 4 different species here at Wesselman Woods. We have marbled, smallmouth, spotted, and northern slimy salamanders. Yeah, and those are just some of the few that you can find around the region. There's so many other salamanders you can find in the state as well.
So what are some of the other critters that you might encounter here at the woods?
So like amphibians and reptiles specifically, we have northern plains frogs. We have an endangered frog that has actually been refound recently around the area. That is the crayfish frog. And we have the green tree frog at Howell Wetlands, actually, which is a species that I never knew was around here, so that's cool. Other reptile species, we have a common snapping turtle. We have eastern box turtles, slider turtles.
You have snakes?
Oh yeah, we have garter snakes, brown snakes, a black king snake, all sorts of species. Those are just a few that I've actually seen.
So if you're on the hiking trail, you might see these critters?
You might, yep, you definitely might.
Okay. And I guess the idea is you don't mess with them when you see them.
No, yeah, so because we are a nature preserve, we are very strict about what people can and can't do out here. One of the things is you don't touch wildlife, you don't take wildlife home with you, you let them be.
Is there a certain species that you're really excited about, or you study? Do you have a favorite?
A favorite species, like overall?
I don't know if you were a frog person or a...
I have done a lot of work with mammals, so I am definitely
Okay,
like a
you're a
mammal
mammal person.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have all sorts of megafauna out here, like coyotes, opossums, raccoons. There have been like bobcat sightings, but we haven't officially gotten any like on record. We do have this really awesome camera trap program that I started, and it's called the Wesselman Woods Wildlife Watch. And so if you ever want to see these mammals in action, then you can go onto the citizen science website that we have. And it's through Zooniverse, so anyone at home can log into this website and they can help us ID pictures of different mammals. And then it all gets uploaded into like a big database. So, I mean, any citizen scientist out there can contribute to our research as well.
I talked to Zach Garcia earlier, and he said that there's have been a bio blitz where people come in and actually count all of the plants and
Everything.
animals.
Yeah, that hasn't happened here for some time. I know there's one happening at Hovey Lake, like in the next month. Yeah, so bio blitzes, even like when you have a plant app on your phone and you take a picture, it'll like tag your location and submit it into like an even bigger like national database as well. So there's just research happening everywhere.
Cindy Cienfuentes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wesselman Woods celebrating 50 years as a nonprofit organization in the Evansville community. Of course, Wesselman Woods is right next door to Wesselman Park, filled with amenities, the golf course, we got the tennis courts there, the picnic areas. And of course, there's the undeveloped Roberts Park. Zach Garcia, the executive director. What's your wish list for Roberts Park? It's right now. It used to be, of course, Roberts Stadium.
Yes.
Now it's kind of a vacant lot, a few trees on there.
Yes. So before I get to Roberts Stadium, so
Roberts Park,
the golf course, the former par 3, we now manage that area. So that's we've been talking and trying to figure out what that area is going to become. And I would say the majority of it, we're going to want to reforest that. And why do we want to do that? Well, we want to protect this living artifact. And by protecting it, what we can do is create a buffer zone. And that buffer zone on the golf course would be perfect, again, to conserve and protect this old growth forest. So majority of that, we're looking to reforest that area. And perhaps we'll have, outdoor classroom spaces there, more trails. Now with Roberts Stadium, my wish list, I would love to see a large part of that reforested as well.
The Robert Stadium lot.
Exactly. Yes, I think just thinking of quality of life, not only for human species, but for all species. I think that's kind of the crux of everything right now, is that we're so egocentric and human-centric right now that we forget that there's a whole ecological system that functions along with us. So Roberts Stadium, I would love to see more trees. I would love to see prairies, areas that people can hang out.
And be right along the Lloyd Expressway. That'd be so cool to see that, wouldn't it?
Exactly. It would be, and also I think it would just send a message to other areas in the region and the United States of like, look at what we did to this area. I think it would just be so powerful, especially, when we're up against, global warming and climate change, that we're already seeing those impacts in Evansville now. So like, all the more reason to be planting, to be protecting, and to be, engaging all of our communities.
So what would you like to see here at Wesselman Woods in the next 5 years?
Oh, in the next 5 years, I would love to see Par 3, that developed, of course, reforested. I would love to see how wetlands getting that shelter enclosed. And then here at Wesselman Woods, this is our big push right now. With our Eco Access Initiative, we're doing our best to ensure that everyone can get out on these trails. So in 5 years, I want to see every single trail at Wesselman Woods elevated so that when you're walking through, there's no mud, there's nothing of that sort, you won't get stuck, but everyone in a wheelchair, walker, anyone can get on these trails.
Now, Wesselman Woods, the funding.
Yes.
You have to have some funding to keep this place operational.
Oh yes, yeah. Funding is, for any nonprofit, it's always, an uphill battle. With Wesselman Woods, we get a very, very, very small stipend from the city. The other 80%, some of that other 20% comes from the city, from programming, and from events. The other 80% is coming from fundraising, is working with individual organizational and corporate donors and other institutions to get in money to run this whole place. So all the more reason to support, this old growth forest and to protect it.
You have a small army of volunteers?
Oh yes, yeah, a very small but mighty army of volunteers. They are incredible. I love our volunteers. They are the funnest group of people, but also they have your back too. I've never met groups of people that we all love Wesselman Woods, we all love Howe Wetlands, and we love this community, but how much love we have for each other. Seriously, it's just so heartwarming to know that if there's a professional issue or an organizational issue or a personal issue, these volunteers come together to help each other out.
Tell me more about Howe Wetlands. You're so separated here, distance-wise.
Yes, yeah. So Howe Wetlands, we manage Howe Wetlands as
It's
well.
on Evansville's west side.
Yes.
And we're on the east side.
Yes, it's on the west side. And Howe Wetlands right now is the largest urban wetland in the United States.
Really?
Yes. So we're very happy to have both of those,
Sure.
distinctions.
Those titles.
Exactly. So Howe Wetlands is such a fun place. You have the prairie area, you have the oxbow, just a number of trails that people can go on, and you can see, in the summer, you look into the water and there's like hundreds of turtles sitting on a log. It's just incredible. Blue herons. It's just such an underutilized area. And we're always trying to get community members out there.
Tell me about the importance of education.
Education. So in this area, I've seen an eco-literacy gap. That ecological, environmental knowledge is lacking. And our mission, our stance at Wesselman Woods is to educate as many people as possible. So I think education is key. Education is key to understand the same systems that are ancient at Wesselman Woods are in my backyard or in my front yard or down the street from me. And to protect and to fully understand the importance of these ecological systems is key to combating any environmental degradation or any ecological problem in the future. Education is key.
And you have the Interpretive Center.
We do.
Helping do that.
Yes, we have this interpretive center to help us do that. We have incredible environmental educators who, gosh, put blood, sweat, and tears into educating, everyone. Social media has become the newest platforms for us to really get out our message. And our Director of Natural Resources and Research, education is so key to her mission and trying to get out environmental stewardship to as many people as possible.
And we were talking earlier about Wesselman Woods being kind of the lungs of the community.
Yes.
Helping breathing new life into this area. And tell us about the importance of this facility as we wrap up this conversation.
Yeah, I can't say it enough that Wesselman Woods is one of the most ecologically rare and amazing places that we have in the United States. And I guess my mission is not to just say it's a gem in Evansville, but it's a gem in the state, and it's a gem in the United States and globally as well. I think there's a lot that many communities in the United States and around the world can learn from conserving such an ancient relic.
And the fact that it's a natural landmark and a state preserve means it's going to be around.
Oh yes, it'll be around for a long time.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's secure.
Yes, yeah.
And it's your job to make sure it flourishes.
Oh, absolutely. I guess the only thing that we might have an issue with is climate change in the next 50, 60 years, well, maybe even sooner than that. What will this terrain look like? So all the more reason to educate, get people out here and understand the beauty and the importance of this ecological treasure that we have.
And celebrating 50 years.
50 years of this nonprofit, all thanks to the Junior League of Evansville, and gosh, all the volunteers and community members that have come out those 50 years and put the time, space, energy, and admiration to this forest.
Zach Garcia is the new executive director of Wesselman Woods, again celebrating 50 years as a nonprofit. Thanks for inviting us in. We've had a great time here.
Thank you. It was our pleasure.
I'm David James. This is 2 Main Street, presented by Jeffrey Berger, Kim Wren, and the Berger Wealth Team at Baird Private Wealth Management.